guys, so today I have swatches of the ILNP Under the Sea collection. This is the second summer collection from ILNP for this year. There are 6 polishes altogether. I will link the ILNP website down below where you guys can check these out, and I will get into the swatches. And I always, if I remember, like to show boxes if the polishes come in boxes, so this is what the ILNP boxes look like. The first polish is called Sandbar, and this is described as a sandy beige magnetic sprinkled with holographic flakes. This is very sheer, so there is not a lot to the base of this, and most of the shimmer that's in it is the magnetic pigment, so the magnet pulls pretty much all of that shimmer to the center line. You can see a few of those holographic sparkles on the rest of the polish, but the majority of it is getting pulled to the center. It does start to build up a little bit in the second coat, but this is a polish that you're going to be able to see your nail line regardless. That holographic sparkle that's not magnetic does start to build up a little bit in that second coat as well. So it continues to build in the third coat. It's still very sheer. Like I said, you're going to be able to see your nail line no matter what you do with this, but I kind of get it now in the third coat. I wasn't on board with this until the third coat, and I feel like it built up just enough to look like a nice sheer magnetic polish to me instead of looking like I had done something wrong. So that is 3 coats of Sandbar. The next polish is called Blowing Bubbles, and this is described as a rich sky blue ultra holographic. This is a beautiful, intense scattered holographic. The base is a jelly and it is pretty sheer, but there's so much of that holographic pigment in there that you get a lot of coverage from that. This covered completely for me in 2 coats, and I wasn't sure if the footage would look like this, but when I was filming, the viewfinder, like the polish in the viewfinder in my camera, was flickering. Like my camera couldn't figure out how it was supposed to film all of the holographic. It was kind of cool looking. And although this looks like it would be a straight up glitter, there's no texture to this. It dries very smooth. So that is 2 coats of Blowing Bubbles. The next polish is called Ariel, and this is described as a vivid lobster red with fiery red to orange sparkle and shimmer. Great formula on this. It is a jelly, so it is a bit sheer, but there are a lot of those shifty flakies in there that do give a little bit of coverage on top of the coverage that you get from the jelly. The second coat built up really well. The color got much deeper, and the flakies that were in there really started to glow from underneath that base. I had a little bit of nail line showing after 2 coats. It was not much, and I almost called it here, but I decided to add a third just to see what it would do. The third coat actually made a much bigger difference in the color than I thought. I kind of assumed it was as deep as it could get, but it deepened the color. Again, the flakies glow really nicely from underneath there, and that third coat did cover my nail line completely. So that is 3 coats of Ariel. The next polish is called Hidden Treasure, and this is described as a glimmering purple holographic. So they describe this as holographic, but I think the gold flakes that are in here are really the star of the show. There's holographic flakes as well. You will get that rainbow reflect out in the sunlight and in bright lights, but I think the gold flakies are what really stand out here. This isn't a jelly base, so it's a little bit sheer. I did have to add 3 coats to cover my nail line completely and to get the base color as deep as I wanted it, and then with that deeper base color, the gold flakies stand out even better. Great formula on this one, and it also dries very smooth, no texture, and not difficult to remove. So that is 3 coats of Hidden Treasure. The next polish is called Paradise, and this is described as a tropical teal green holographic jelly. Also sheer in the first coat. It is a jelly. The base is actually pretty sheer, but there are a lot of those flakies in there. This is another one that, yes, it's a holographic, and it's described as a holographic correctly, but I think it almost does it a disservice because those green metallic flakies are what really stands out in this one, and I think just calling it a holographic is kind of diminishing it a little bit. Still a bit sheer on that second coat. You can see my nail line there pretty clearly. It is a jelly, so like that's just kind of how it's going to work. On the third coat, you could also still see my nail line. I tried to do like a little touching up and add a little extra polish to the end of my nails just to see if I could cover it, and it was covered pretty well, but not completely. I could still pick it out, and if you have longer nails or a whiter nail line, that's going to stand out a lot more. So that is 3 coats of Paradise. And the last polish is called Sea Glass, and this is described as a deep cobalt blue shimmer. Great formula as always. Another jelly base, but it's not too sheer for a jelly. It's actually pretty decently opaque as far as jellies go. The color builds pretty well on the second coat. I can still see some nail lines showing, but really only from certain angles. I don't know what makes the difference because on camera here it's a little bit more obvious than it was in person, and then with some polishes they look more opaque on camera than in person. I don't really get it. It covered really well for me in 3. Still that very, very minor nail line showing, but again, you really had to look for it to find it. So that is 3 coats of Sea Glass. My favorite here is going to be Hidden Treasure. I just really, really love how those gold flakies contrast with that purple base. It's So nice. And then the added holographic is also a good bonus as well. Although, like I said before, I think the description of this almost does it a little bit of a disservice because the gold is the standout element for me, not so much the holographic. So that is the ILNP Under the Sea collection for summer 2023. Again, I will link that website down below where you guys can check these out. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later.